I'll call the meeting to order, and I'll invite you to stand for the Lord's Prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can somebody shut the door, maybe?
She is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 2.1, approve the minutes of the March 29th, 2022 regular meeting.
I motion that we pass the minutes of the 20, 22 regular meeting. Approved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 3, public comment on agenda items. Jackie? 4.1, proposed amendments, and there are none. Number 5, consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they need to pull?
I do.
Okay.
I want to pull, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 5.7.
Okay. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, 8, 9, 10. Oh, 8 and 9.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Crystal, 5.3.
Well, I can lump them all together
Okay.
into one, and that is, I just was wanting to ask Carol or Dawn, whoever, superintendent, where we're gonna, I'm in favor of this, and I wanna pay for all this, because I want our athletic department to get straightened out, and I'm confident that AD Rhymes can do it, and I just wanna know where the money's gonna come from. That's my question.
And I was thinking that Carol would be here. I know she's on her way.
Okay.
So, if, I can tell you that, I'm confident that we have the money. If you want to wait and table it, we can.
Will she be here before the end of the meeting? or
Possibly, yes.
Could we just
Yes,
move it to the end of the meeting and
Please.
see if she makes it?
please.
Okay.
Okay. Number 6, there's no action agenda, no amended. General public comments, none. 9.1, presentation by, is it Oken? Oken. Oken. You can go to the podium.
And can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I left my things sitting on my counter this morning, so I'm going to be reading from my phone. Good morning, members, Superintendent Barfield, and staff. Thank you for this opportunity to be here today. And with me also is Marie Weber, Director of our Marketing and Revenue. I'm Pam McCauley. I've had the pleasure of partnering here in Glades County for many years. I'm a born and raised Heartland girl, 5th generation. I have roots that run deep in DeSoto and Highlands counties. And naturally, with that, as you can imagine, I have a soft spot for the students and staff of small town Florida, and have dedicated my career to leveling the education playing field of strong academic support solutions. The license of programs and solutions also found in large urban districts. Some of our implementations are Dallas, Chicago, New York. I feel strongly that the students here in Glades, no matter their socioeconomic status, their residence on the map, should receive access to the same high-quality programs and solutions. Many companies and sales folks skip over the smaller districts. Their revenue and the balance of their time on the road just don't meet. But it's not how it is with me and my team. Without speaking for you, Dr. Barfield, I feel like you and I share this desire to level this playing field for students. Today, I'm representing Oakens Homework Helpline and Tutoring Solutions. The day I met with Dr. Barfield in late November, I immediately saw the excitement of her bringing such a solution to the students and families of Glades County Schools. She said, "My kids need this." It wasn't a boutique solution as a fluff add-on. It wasn't something that she sought after just because the Florida Department of Education says we should. It wasn't to just check a box. It was about the kids. Our Solutions Homework Helpline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for on-demand support and targeted tutoring for either one-on-one or small group tutoring sessions are the academic supports that students need, no matter their grade level, no matter the subject area, and no matter their zip code or their parent status. They all have full and unlimited access to help on demand, right then and there. If they're at home after school and forgot to a specific step the teacher showed in class, they can get help right then. Late at night after football practice and they have to finish an assignment, but they're stuck, they can get help right then. Sunday afternoon and need to study for a quiz or an exam on Monday and need clarification on a few topics, they can get help right then. Our teachers and school staffs across America, they're tired, they're spent, they are dedicated to their students but just cannot give any more than they already are. There isn't time in a teacher's class period or day to stop and help every student who needs a bit of help on an assignment or that needs a topic or skill completely retaught. They hate that they don't have the time, but it's just their reality. The COVID slide, the gap in learning, learning loss, unfinished learning, those are all terms that are reality. They are phrases coined to give attention to the state of our students' learning over the past couple of years. And this is what Oaken does. It's what we're here to help with. Oaken's tutors are that just-in-time and on-demand assistant to every teacher in the district, there for every student to access in an unlimited nature. Imagine your students feeling less stress because the answers to their questions are literally a keystroke away. I'm not sure about the members, staff, and citizens here today, but I'm an educator of 28 years, and I stopped being able to help my own children, my 2 girls, with their homework as they entered middle school. Today, they're both college graduates, and education since then, since they were in public school, has only gotten more complex. And Oaken's tutors are there as an assistant to parents also. There's been some controversy surrounding our solution here in Glades County by way of social media. I've seen it, I've read it. I do believe it's a distraction from the real key term here today is for the kids. And I'm not here to get into the back office business of the district. It's not my place and the place of my team. We're here to represent what we have ready and waiting to offer to the students of Glades County. Relief for school staff and teachers, a solution that we have spent countless hours working with your technology team to have ready, and with just a few more clicks of the buttons, your students will have full access to Homework Helpline directly from their single sign-on dashboard. Besides Homework Helpline, I've also mentioned targeted tutoring, extra academic support for groups of students or one-to-one. Teachers and administrators would be able to assign students to tutoring sessions ranging from 20 minutes to 1.5 hours. Algebra tutoring for specific skills, proofreading lessons, essay writing, decoding to read, increasing reading comprehension. The ways that your teachers can use the targeted tutoring sessions are only bound by their creativity in grouping students for Tier 2 help, algebra camps, math camps, after-school tutoring sessions, summer tutoring, endless possibilities. And I'll leave you with this before I get into my presentation. For the past 15 years, I've served every district in the state of Florida, all 67 in some capacity, 68 if you include FLVS. I've known superintendents who know little about what's going on in the classroom. I've known superintendents who know everything, from the price of tires for the school buses to what is on Unit 4 of the 6th grade textbook. I've known superintendents who quickly refer to someone else in the district with, please contact so-and-so. I have people who do that. And then there are superintendents like Dr. Barfield. Very few, I may add, superintendents who see classrooms of students without a teacher, no matter how valiantly the district has tried to recruit great teachers. I was here in Glades County during open house this fall. I watched as teachers in this district remember how tired I've told you that they are, and I'm sure that you know that clearly. But I see the empty classrooms, these teachers raise their hands to give up their 1 hour of planning time a day so that they could be the educator in a classroom without an assigned teacher. I know you know this already, but I see the empty classrooms across the state without those volunteering to cover, especially not the superintendent. Dr. Barfield's intentionality of serving in this way in Glades County is a testament to her knowing wholeheartedly what students need. She knew the students needed the academic support of Oakland's homework helpline and tutoring. So I encourage the board members to put aside the noise from outside of this boardroom, and it's the noise that is standing between your students receiving strong academic support or not. And then I just want to run through a few of my slides here. I'm not going to go through the whole presentation because much of this was already in what I've said to you today. But you will have access to daily insights, your teachers will, on where your students are struggling. Because as those students call into the homework helpline, it is recorded and is shown on the teacher's dashboard or the administrator's dashboard. So while you have many tools that can measure your students' progress, that progress monitoring or a test that will show where they are performing, Homework Helpline gives you direct, daily, real-time access to where they're struggling, because it's recorded what they're calling in for, the help that they need. Then the teachers and administrators can use that actionable data in real time to assign students to targeted tutoring sessions right away. There's no waiting necessary. Not only do we record what they're calling in for, but every session at the keystroke level is recorded. The transcripts are sent out. They're available there on the dashboard. And if it turns into a video session, tutoring session, then it's a recording that the student can play back at any time if they need to remember how the tutor helped them along. We have, when a student logs in, they would log in through your single sign-on, through their single sign-on dashboard, and click on the link to get help, and it's gonna take them into a knowledge base there on the dashboard where we can customize that for the district. And if you have information specific to parents or specific to students, it can be right there so that they see it again. And then as that system gets used, it becomes more and more robust. And as the tutors are helping your students, all of that, those lessons and content also are put into the knowledge base, so that with the intent of, if a student logs in and just needs to find a quick how-to, they can search the knowledge base. And it's, that concept of teaching them to fish. I mentioned that the students can call in either by phone to get help, they can log in and get it via chat, or the tutor can turn that into a video session one-on-one if they need to really show the student how to do a math assignment or a science assignment. Because of our machine learning and the call routing, we get that student based on their grade level, based on the subject area and the help that they need, to the right tutor who is a subject matter expert in that subject. We do wish to hire local teachers. We believe wholeheartedly in keeping money in district, and so we really, it's our priority to hire local educators here within the district before we would then go outside of Glades County. It's a completely turnkey solution. There's not a lift on your staff, it's not a lift on teachers, it's not a lift on administrators. It's a dashboard that they'll have access to on a daily basis should they want to utilize it in that way to see what their students are calling in for and then assign those tutoring sessions, and that's it. There's no time out of the classroom for PD. We have created short tutorials because it's so easy to use. It's short tutorials that they can access at the click of a button. They range from 30 seconds to 2 minutes on the how to look at their dashboard, how to pull the information, how to see what the students are calling in for. I've already mentioned that we integrate with your LMS and SIS, and that the recordings to give the full transparency. This gives just a little overview of what happens once a student logs in, they get connected. They're learning, the tutor is learning a little bit more about what the student needs help with. Then they are engaging and using e-learning instructional strategies, using Socratic questioning, trying to really model for the students. We're not a Google answer or a Yahoo answer. We're going to actually help the students along where they're stuck. And then we ask that the tutor sees that the student knows how to apply what they're learning, and then reinforce by checking for understanding, giving some next steps, and then the student also gets that transcript. So it's a gradual release of responsibility, which is just great teaching model. And this just gives, a whole lot of overview here of how the homework helpline and targeted tutoring really together are a synergistic model, a holistic model that could really benefit your teachers and students. And that's all I have. If you have any questions,
I do.
appropriate.
My first question was a bilingual support. Do you have
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
To help
We
a parent
absolutely-
that doesn't speak English? Okay. That was my first one. And then how many districts? Is it statewide or is it actually out of state as well?
It's in the United States.
Okay. So then my next question would be how many employees to help these millions of students?
So that goes by students in the district, and we have a whole model to how many, what we call FTEs, it's different than your FTE. What we call FTEs for how many full-time units we need, but then we break those up into part-time units. So here in Glades, it could be anywhere from 4 to 12, just making sure, because we're going to make sure that the subject areas are covered and grade levels. So we have different levels of tutors that we hire. Some we call a generalist, and those are your elementary trained teachers across subject areas, your middle grades. And then we have specialists, once you get into those high school courses, and they're very specific to their subject area.
That was my next question, so you
Yep.
answered it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You talked about hiring local teachers if possible, but if a student logs on to get help with, say, geometry, there's not a very high chance they're gonna get a Glades County teacher. So they're gonna end up with a teacher from somewhere else in the United
Florida.
States.
No.
Florida.
We do stay state specific, so they would get a Florida educator, because I'm an educator, my team, we're all educators, and we hold in high regard, making sure that we are teaching the skills and concepts, because we're not teachers of record you know, we're not teaching a standard. We are supporting the students to get them past a hurdle of somewhere where they're stuck on a skill or a concept. So if you think of it that way, you know, Glades County students are learning geometry in those skills and concepts, whether it's Glades or Indian River or Hernando or wherever, those concepts are taught the same.
And on the other hand, if you hire a teacher, an elementary certified teacher from Glades County, they're gonna be helping students from all over the state.
If they are in queue and aren't currently serving their Glades County students, they could get a call in from somewhere else.
And I'm gonna ask the biggest question of all. How much does it cost?
Amen.
I mean, cause I'm not a teacher, so I can't ask those kind of questions. But I can talk about how much does it cost.
Yes, ma'am. So the contract that y'all have, and I'm not looking at it, so I believe that we gave you, $5 a month for homework helpline, unlimited per student. And then the tutoring, unlimited hours of tutoring for each student for $23.50 a month.
$23.
What did that come to?
The total was 1.3, but it was for 3 years. So I believe the total was 400 and change per year, and that's for unlimited access, both homework helpline and one-on-one tutoring or group tutoring.
Okay, I'm slow on takeoff. 400,000?
It's- Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
all right, that's what I want to know.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
What if we enter into this agreement and we keep a record and we have very few students accessing it? We pay for, if it's $5 plus $23, so we're talking about $28 per student, and we're paying for all of our students, but we only have 10 who actually access it.
Right. So we have a lot of things in place where we help drive usage, because, right, if you're gonna offer something like this to your families and your students, you want them accessing it. So we make sure first and foremost that that is kind of plastered everywhere. We have something in that contract that is, kind of a fallback. It's called an innovation fund, is that correct? Is that in there? It's an innovation fund where we would, do a semester kind of usage poll, and whatever the difference is, there's a formula for it, and whatever the difference is, we can put money back in, to maybe a Zoom classroom or some kind of technology in your schools to reinvest that money back. But it has to fit with the funding stream where you get the funding. So if it is ESSER or if it is federal dollars, then we want to make sure that we stay within those guidelines of applying those funds. It's never our wish to sell this some district and not use it.
So I have a couple questions. You said that you had served all 67 counties. This company has, or you personally have?
Personally.
Okay,
Yes, I was
so-
just talking about my experience.
So you've worked with Glades County,
Yes, ma'am.
in what capacity?
With Edgenuity.
Okay,
I've been your Edgenuity rep for many years.
okay. So how many districts are using this product in Florida?
In Florida, 7 so far. It's brand new as of December.
Your company just started in December?
Well, the company started 18 years ago. With this solution, yes, we have just been out since November, December.
Of 21, okay,
Correct.
all right. And they're certified teachers, you said?
They don't have to be, but the staff here in Glades County, that differs by district. For instance, Hernando County Superintendent wanted to make sure he has a program in his high schools we wanted to make sure that we were hiring those Teacher Academy students as tutors for some of those lower grades. So because we're not a teacher of record that has to be attached to your FTE to go up to the state for funding, but we have our priority on certified educators. And the district can, because of our call routing metrics, we can just click a button and to make sure that your students only get certified teachers.
Okay. So, you answered my other question about the tutoring. It's either phone, chat, or video.
Correct.
It's not in person, okay? So what is the advantage of, I work with a collegiate academy in another county, and I see students that do not use the resources that the college offers, the tutoring, the study sessions, the professor's office hours. You know, they're not comfortable, I think, in doing a lot of those things, but they do use things like Khan Academy because they can be a little invisible there, you know,
Yes.
nobody knows they need help or
Correct.
whatever. So what is the advantage of your company over something like Khan Academy,
So.
which is free, right? By the way?
Correct.
Okay.
We have in the knowledge base, we have, they can do their fishing there like they would on Academy. But then they have the button that just pops up and it's right there on their screen at all times that they can begin a tutoring session. It's a quick ask of something, or it's, our tutor spends 20 minutes trying to get them past this hurdle. And that we provide all of the analytics. You right now wouldn't know where your students are struggling because if they're going to Khan Academy, you don't get record of that, you don't have a transcript of that or a video recording of that, or the data and analytics that are on the back side for
Right.
the teachers and administrators to see.
Right, that makes sense.
And this is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
Yes, ma'am. And while that is, we do know that really the times, even though we really say it's 24/7, and we are, but the students are not calling in at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. They're just not. It ends by 11, 12 o'clock.
Do the
Their
parents,
usage.
like, say I'm a mother of a fifth grader and my son brings home a math problem and I'm just like totally don't understand what to do. And if you haven't seen fifth grade curriculum
Yes,
lately,
yes,
it's
yes,
hard.
yes,
Um,
yes.
But what, can a parent call in and say, how can I help my child? Is it,
Absolutely. So in fact, with those lower grades, it's the parent who is starting those video sessions, right? So a second or third grader aren't going to start chatting well, they probably could.
I know.
They probably could. But the parent is the one that is really starting the video session with the tutor for that child. And sitting beside them, the parent has access to the recording and the transcript, so that when they get off the call and, wait, what did she say at that step? They can either play it back or they can call back in.
and what's the protection of the student, Pam? What happens, like, if there's something inappropriate, what happens in that case?
So we have sentiment analysis that we have built in. If there are, phrases that are caught, and they're caught right away because they're just built into the whole technology of it. If there are phrases either verbally spoken or written in chat, then that's in your onboarding and our implementation kickoff with you. You assign us someone that would go to right away, whether it's a security officer, whether it's a guidance counselor, or someone here in the district. And again, they're all recorded, and you have the transcript.
Is there any funding at all through the government? I mean, is there?
This
Will they
fits
pay for a portion?
100% with ESSER
Okay.
funding, each round of ESSER. Because of that, because the way ESSER is funded, and their model that the federal government used when they designed ESSER, they used and mirrored it to Title I funds. So they mirrored, how much they allocate to Title I, so it fits with Title I, IDEA, SAI. So there are a lot of, funding streams that it fits with.
Okay, I was afraid to. Thank you, Pam, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice job, thank you.
Item 9.2, presentation of the CDL requirements.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
School board member, superintendent. So, coming on, I dove into some of the programs as to, what we had in place as far as requirements. January 6th of 2020, the Florida Motor Vehicle Association launched their drug and alcohol clearinghouse for CDL drivers. It used to be in the past that local government school boards were waived from having to follow DOT requirements for they didn't have to follow DOT requirements, basically. We were waived from that. January 6th of 2020, when this program launched, we're no longer waived. We actually have to sign into clearinghouse, and drivers are personally responsible for signing into the clearinghouse as well. The whole purpose of the federal government launching this clearinghouse is to track CDL drivers as far as their drug testing, their alcohol testing, and also if they have sought any substance abuse counseling, or if their license has been suspended for any of those reasons. They have a 3-year plan, so starting in 2023, while you've been utilizing this, when you hire someone, they first have to use a DOT application. Before we can even hire them on, they have to register into the clearinghouse, and then we have to perform a query. A query costs about $1 on us, and this will search their background profile as far as drug testing and alcohol testing and so on. So we don't have that implemented right now. It is something that we can fix. I know that there are penalties that we can incur from not being in compliance, but I can tell you that I have launched a program with another agency that was out of compliance and no one incurred any penalties. You just don't know until you get everything set up and everyone in the way they're supposed to be. What we'll also have to do from here is set up bring in a company to do our drug testing to make sure we're in compliance with DOT and the federal government that's regulating all this. I can tell you drug tests have to be done once a month, and it's based off a percentage. I want to say about 25% of your CDL drivers. Now this is specifically just for CDL drivers. It's employees who we have to use for their licenses. Now, if we have an employee who has a CDL, but we don't use them as our bus drivers, then we don't have to put them into that program. It's only who we're utilizing as subs for bus driving and our permanent bus drivers. They also are now required to get their medical card. As you may or may not know, medical cards for CDL drivers, they get every 2 years or every 4 years. It really just depends on them personally. And those can cost about $75 every time. Drug tests right now cost anywhere between $50 to $60, depending on who you use those services for. I do know that Glades County BOCC has a company that already comes in, and they utilize their services. That's why I'm able to pull those numbers and know what those numbers are and how much it costs to get on with a mobile drug testing center that comes to our location. A setup fee and cost could be close to, I want to say maybe anywhere between $500 to $1,000 depending on what we need from them. Do we need them to set the entire program for us? Or do we need them just to come in to utilize their services just for the drug testing and breath alcohol testing?
Why wouldn't we use our health department for that?
They don't have the necessary means to do so from when we originally set up that program with the county back in 2020. If they have it now, that'd be something that I'd have to see. But one of the pros of also maybe contacting the company that the county uses is that we could pool our employees together. That way, if we have 7 employees who are driving buses, they're not getting pulled every month. They're actually being pulled with 10 other people. So it kind of lessens their chances, gives them a break, you know, in between months or so.
I was wondering why all of the people, all of the employers didn't use the health department. That's crazy.
Well, they used to, when I was driving bus, we used to use the health department.
Sure.
But also in the latter years, we partnered with Cloiston because we had such few. Our driver, I guess, whoever was they partnered together and we went over there and did it all together. So I guess it cut down on the cost. So now that's where it was. I don't know what they're doing now.
Right, so, when the clearinghouse launched, they had very specific, outlines and requirements. And so you'll run into, some of these places don't do breath alcohol testing. Or some of them don't have their DOT regulations up to date as of when it was 2020. Now, do they have it now? I don't know. I would have to see. But I was just bringing this information.
I understand, yeah, but I was just saying shame on us as a county that we don't utilize the health department for all of the
They used to, I don't know why.
government employees.
I want to say from my recollection, they don't do breath alcohol, at least back then, they didn't do the breath alcohol testing that was required of this program.
So there would be like a date and time certain that these employees have to be here if they're coming. It wouldn't be at their convenience to go by a doctor's office, although we do have one now.
Right, so the DOT states that we have to have as what they call a scientific method of selecting an employee to be chosen at random, which is basically a computerized program.
Okay.
And, you know, I don't think that the health department has that program set up for us to say no. A different, a third party is pulling the names, you know, it's nothing that we're doing ourselves.
Okay.
But I can definitely, you know, get with them, see what they have and see what we can do. Yeah, absolutely.
Go back to something, and I just didn't catch the whole thing. There was something that cost $1,000 per person?
No, not per person, just setting up an initial contract, getting your correct policies, the correct forms in place that you need, just setting up your entire program using a company who has this program ready to be fit to your agency.
Okay, so it's a one-time charge of $1,000.
It could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000, just depending on exactly what you need from them. I do have a CDL drug testing policy that's already written. I've worked on it back in 2019 to get it launched for the 2020. So I've told the superintendent that I would provide it to her and we can tailor it to the school board needs for the certain areas. There's a lot of moving parts that we're required to do when it comes to this program.
When the program starts, is every CDL driver initially drug tested?
They would have to, we can't do an initial drug testing, they're already employed.
Okay,
But once we launch this program, anyone who's coming on board, yes, would have to be drug tested prior to, but they would also have to register into the clearinghouse and before and allow us to do a query on them before we can even further discussing their hiring process.
but do the existing employees still have to sign into the clearinghouse though?
They
At
will.
least, okay.
They will.
Like next year. before they
Right.
sign their new year contract.
Right.
Gabby, I don't know if this is, if you would have an answer to this, but what about if we have someone with a CDL license that has a medical marijuana card? Are they covered, or can they, what's the,
So that's a good question, and the answer is no. Only because federally, that is not recognized. The state may recognize, the legalization of marijuana, but federally it is not recognized, and this is a federal program.
So
Driving
if
under
one
the
of our
influence.
bus drivers is using medical marijuana, they should not be a bus driver.
Well, they can take the risk.
Is that what you're saying?
Right, they can
Might
take
need
the
it.
risk, but if they test positive,
Gotcha.
now, let's say they test positive, I will tell you this one, okay, so this policy that I worked on for the drug testing policy, that was their concern. They're like, if we drug test our drivers, they're gonna test positive, we already know. And so this clearinghouse kind of has room for us to provide a second chance, you know. So automatically, if someone tests positive, we have to automatically suspend them. They cannot drive. It is up to us if we want to allow them to work in a different capacity that's not considered safety sensitive under the state statute guidelines. And then from there, they are required to sign up with a registered SAP, which is a substance abuse professional. We are required to at least provide 2, but it's up to them to decide who they want to go to. It don't have to be the 2 certified professionals that we provide to them. They have to complete the entire program on their dime. They can utilize our insurance. If they qualify for FMLA, they can go out on FMLA if it's required, just depending on how heavy the abuse may or may not be. And then once they complete that program, it is up to that substance abuse professional to go into the clearinghouse, because they have to be registered in that clearinghouse too. They have to go into that clearinghouse and say, okay, they've completed this program and I feel like they can have their license restored. And so this does mess with them personally, the drivers personally. They will lose their license. Their license will be suspended or at least revoked depending on the severity.
for
here,
CDL
for driving
license?
For
for us?
CDL
Yes,
license.
For
CDL.
driving for us? Or
Yes.
even on their own
Anywhere,
capacity?
even on their
Anywhere.
own.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my question.
Yeah, so this directly and indirectly impacts everyone. So the driver themselves is impacted personally, and then also when it comes to being employed somewhere.
I know you've met with transportation,
Yes.
and notified them of this, and are they, what was their reaction to this?
They were understanding and on board, and they understand the importance of it, and they kind of jumped on it. I told them, you know, this is what we're gonna need to start off. Let's go ahead and get this started so we can kind of get, you know, on the ball with this. And so they were very helpful and, like I said, understanding of the importance of this program.
That's good.
Gabby, could you say one more time, you said in January 2020 is when this went into effect, but then you said 2023. Is that like the deadline of when we have to have it in place, or are we already out of compliance since 2020?
Great question. So to clarify that, we are already out of compliance.
Okay.
I was just trying to provide a little synopsis of how this program, how they were trying to make it work. Because when 2020 launched, a lot of the employers' concerns and drivers' concerns is, well, you're having me use this program, but I'm not gonna be able to pull up anyone's information. How am I gonna see if they tested positive on a drug test or an alcohol test or had their license suspended due to these reasons?
Bless you.
If you know, so that's why they're like, well, in a matter of 3 years of employers and drivers utilizing this program, all that information will be eventually dumped to there. So their goal is in 2023, when we start doing queries on drivers or new hires, we will be able to see if they have a history. And that will allow us to determine if we can hire them or cannot hire them.
So we were currently just doing the FDLE thing that we do for everybody, for our bus drivers.
Right, so
Okay.
and that's the criminal background check,
Right.
so that is,
In addition.
something that we run concurrent, cause it's a little
Okay.
bit different.
Okay, thank you. Well, thanks for being on top of it.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Is,
Carol's still not here, but
Dawn is here, but I would rather, can we table the items, until our next meeting? Gives them a chance to give you black and white numbers where you can see exactly, where we're gonna pull the funding from.
Well, I just don't wanna, is that gonna be a kink? Is that gonna cost, does this
Well, I
stuff have
mean,
to be
we're-
paid tomorrow? Or,
Some of these are 3 years old. I mean, what's a month?
you know?
We may be even be able to discuss it at the budget workshop as well.
Correct.
It's just because I just got back yesterday, and then Carol will be here at 10 a.m. And I'd just rather have precise answers.
She'll be here at 10?
Yes, she'll be here.
Okay. Could we maybe just adjourn till 10 or,
Well, no, because we have other.
so she might make it,
We could take a little.
cause I don't wanna postpone it if we can get it done today. I think
that would be better, really,
to
to,
get together, because
Oh.
Dawn hasn't been here, so
Oh.
Carol's not gonna have your answer either when she
Oh,
gets here.
okay, okay.
I did want to ask a question though, not regarding the funding, where it's coming from, although that was one of my questions. But, 5.7, approval to pay all transportation costs associated with athletics at Moorhaven Middle High School for any outstanding bills for 21-22 and all bills for 22-23. And my question is, if we're gonna do that for Moorhaven Middle High School, should we not also do that for Westglade School?
Yeah, I have the same questions.
I reached out, because Ms. Barfield asked me to, reach out to Brad, she asked me to reach out for Brad, because that was one of her things, she said she wanted to do it for both schools. I asked him for a total, because I sent a total, but I didn't get his total in time to get it to you guys,
Oh, okay.
so. we
But you
were-
have a
So we can still do it, we just need to know what his total is.
Yeah, she had asked, and I had texted him, but we kinda had something else occur, so that kinda got put to the back, but yeah, we did include them, it's just not included in my total.
And we don't know, I
It's
mean,
really
22-23, we have no idea
It's
yet
gonna be
what
a
that's
very
gonna be.
fluctuating, yeah, it's gonna be the distance traveled, it's gonna be how many away games, I mean, it would vary. And obviously, middle school's not going to be as high as varsity level, they don't travel as far, it's Clewiston, it's Okeechobee, whereas varsity will go to Fort Myers, Naples,
Right.
so it will, obviously, the one's gonna be higher.
But if we're gonna do it for one school, we need to do it for both.
Yes.
Now, this just addresses through next school year, 22-23.
Yeah, that was a really rough estimate, because I was thinking gas prices as high as they are,
Sure.
so I went really high, because I was not really very sure of what it would cost. What I'm trying to do, and he really can't utilize this concept, I'm trying to do sports where they're stacked, where it's a middle school, a JV, and a varsity. We're trying to find teams that offer those same things, so we go to one location. So like volleyball and Clewiston offers all three, so we can have one bus drop them off.
Right.
There's several schools are like that, Marine Christian, West Palm, it would be one spot, three games.
Okay, so the transportation cost, I'm all for that. The other things, the equipment, video equipment, athletic equipment, heat tents, reconditioning and all that, are you hoping that once you get caught up on everything and get it in
Yeah, no, once
order,
we
then you'll be able to pay your own bills?
Yeah, and the really thing is, we can pay a lot of those things, like with the reconditioning, we're not on an appropriate cycle. So you'll see in there that it's like, for helmets, it's like $13-something thousand. Well, we should be on a cycle where we're only ordering 5 new a year, when in actuality, we have 19 that are outdated, that you can't use because of the concussion policy. So now you have to fix all 19 of those. We have to order new ones to replace those. Ideally, if you get into a cycle, you would every year just buy 3 or 4 to replace. And
So
then we keep them fresh. Ideally, there should have been a cycle, but there was not an appropriate one in place.
So ideally, in a couple of years, the athletic department should be able to be self-supporting.
Yes, 100%.
We're just getting you out of a hole.
Just a tad.
No, that's a big take.
So my question is, how do we appropriate money for our next fiscal year? Cause we're gonna pay for it out of this fiscal year for next year's transportation. That was kind of my question.
Welcome, Carol.
Can we get an estimate on how much transportation's gonna be for 22, 23, so that we can put that in our budget?
Yes. So that, in our budget
Yeah, so I already
workshop.
have the schedules done for all the fall sports for 22, 23, so that one would be pretty spot on. That, like, if they tell me how much it is per mile or what, I don't like to talk about smart. That would be an easier estimate. I wouldn't be able to do the January to or May sports, but we could come pretty close.
You could guess based on what you paid this year, or,
Yeah, but gas prices are a lot different.
yeah, they may go down.
Yeah, maybe.
We
That's
can
what they
always
say.
hope.
We real,
Yeah.
And then-
have fun.
So
And
yeah,
then-
we could definitely give a pretty solid estimate.
There
But
you
what I
go.
said there was kind of like, what I did is thinking, okay, $2,000 per sport, and I kind of just like 2,000 here and here and here, so it was pretty rough, but I could probably narrow it down a lot closer.
Sure.
And our community has been very gracious and giving of our athletes, extremely. And anytime there's a need, organizations step up and give the money. Parents step up, have a barbecue. I mean, there's always someone in our community that's giving and won't, and do it without asking. The problem is, we're just doing to pay, I mean, we're so in the hole that we're paying past bills that
There's
we're
just
never.
a lot of things that need to be fixed and need to be, especially with their facilities that were not maintained. And to the equipment, some of it not being, so you have to fix it. But there's just a lot of little things that needed to be fixed for the best interest of the student that, could we afford a lot of it? Yeah, we could buy a lot of stuff, but then that's saying in August when we come in, we'll have $0 and, no way to pay the referee bills. So we have to keep a pretty big cushion to pay those, because a lot of times we end up paying them out of the athletic department because they're due before their season starts. So then once their season starts, they get gate concessions and they're able to pay it back.
And then also, some of this, you pointed out to me, could come out of some of our safety dollars, the tents for the
There's
athletes.
medical bags, tents, there's like these things that we're supposed to have for students, for heat. Like we're not
And the
supposed to-
helmets would
and
be
the
a
helmets,
safety.
We have to,
Yes.
we're not allowed to not do it.
So I know, I'm in favor of funding the
Oh,
whole
yes.
76.
And we could definitely go through it and sit, and if you wanna have a conversation about some of the things you see on there, I'm always at the school, so.
Will you take an oath that you'll stay athletic director? If we help you?
Listen,
When you get it straightened out, it'll be a breeze.
We'll see. But, I mean, again, if you have any more questions about it and stuff, but definitely the helmets. And that's a reoccurring, it won't be to that extent reoccurring. It'll be about 5,000 reoccurring, because that's just the reconditioning, but the replacement part was huge. It was like $7,000 to replace them.
And in the past year or two, I read in the athletic departments that, I guess it would probably be football more than any other sport. They overheat and you've seen children die.
Yeah,
And
there's
they say
actually.
that there's a
school
test
board's
whenever they
actually
get their,
supposed to have a heat policy.
whenever they take their physicals, that there's
I
a
think we
test.
do.
I hope we do.
There's a test that could be added to the physical, and it's like $15. If they had that one test, they would have known. So it's not just a regular physical, it's physical, and then that test as well.
and I just wanna say this, I personally was affected by a child that died at Riverdale High School, Zach Colsenberg, who was at football practice. And my son was right there with him, and he was his friend, and he fell over. And if he was put in a water immersion, which the school had them, but was not used, he could have been saved, but he died.
Yeah, so
And
we are gonna implement a, school-wide physical. I'm trying to find somebody who will come and do it. We're gonna do all student athletes physicals on.
But there's that one little extra thing
We
that you,
can ask if
Yeah.
they know anything
Yeah.
about that.
I'll go
to
back and see what I read too
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, I
Cause
can
it's something
definitely
that they're
ask.
saying nobody ever knew, you know, I mean, you've got these big healthy guys playing football, and then there's this one little thing.
Madam Chairman, are you talking about
I'm
the
not
heart,
sure.
the quick heart test that they're doing?
Maybe
That's
it's just like
emerging.
$15 additional to what it
Yeah, it's
is.
in that price range. There's a company now that's supporting the idea of, it's a quick EKG type of thing.
Right.
You know?
Yes,
And
exactly.
it's some districts are trying it at an additional cost to the athletes and the parents.
And
And
it's
they're
not,
just to see how it works and what happens.
well, and
Yeah,
like I
that's-
said, it's not much, but it's
that's
definitely worth their life.
Piloting around the state,
Mhm.
if we're talking about the same thing.
It is. So it's just something that we need to
Well,
add to.
I'll be to see you.
Okay.
So I have one more question. So if we don't take action today, is that like, or if we wait, if we table?
There's certain things I would have to, I need to get ordered, like I have, like those one bills aren't going away, like I have them. That's just bottom line. I've got to figure the Rydell, I have to, it's due.
It's not on the agenda that way, anywhere, to vote.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is. These are all right here on the consent.
Yeah, we pulled them
Yes.
for discussion.
I'm sorry.
I just, you know,
I mean, we can
I see
definitely
it.
do bits and pieces, obviously. Like, I
which
don't
one
have
do you
to
need the most?
Go to, I
At
mean,
first?
the
Paying the
Rydell.
transportation for next year, we could settle that at our budget workshop, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
We don't have to decide that one today, okay?
And Carol's here, you're not gonna have any of the answer today for sure? We were wondering where the funding was coming from for these items.
I'm wondering, do we have 76,000 extra dollars that we didn't spend this year that we could?
Good morning, thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah, we're gonna work on the budget workshop tomorrow, but that really is gonna be going into next year. So obviously, some of these things are for next year, but as she's been sitting here telling you, some of these things need taken care of now.
Right,
What I would ask you, I think, is to go ahead and approve this with the knowledge that we're not going to be spending it. So for the transportation that she doesn't need till next year, but the things that need to be done now, and to get her caught up, the equipment stuff is not optional. That stuff's gotta be kept on, and if they're behind, part of what we'll be talking about tomorrow is this multi-year funding concept. That, she needs to be on schedule. You've got other things that have to occur every year so that you don't get behind.
so we can just do a budget amendment to take care of this? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to know, and, okay.
Okay?
Okay,
All right.
let's do that.
And one more.
Yes.
We just want to clarify, there was a question about this too. This is going to come from general fund dollars, I assume.
Yes.
And since we're settling a claim, our authority is very broad. So we're okay on all those kinds of things.
Yeah, it is general fund money, so
Yeah.
there are very limited restrictions on it.
Okay,
Let's do that.
all right. So,
Right.
Make a
Do
motion.
we
We need
need
a
to
motion?
do each one of these individually?
I don't think so.
I don't know, he's off Parliament's here.
No, you don't have to. The one that you wanted to hold back, or we're talking about holding back on the travel, that would be fine.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve items 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, and 5.7.
I second.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yay.
With the understanding that Westglade School is included.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, we need to, do we need to amend that? Let's amend that motion, just to make sure.
Okay,
So I amend the motion to include Westglade School in
she
the,
made the motion.
oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, let me amend my motion to also state that 5.7
Yes.
transportation cost associated with athletics will be paid for Moorhaven Middle High School and Westglade School.
And I'll second.
Okay, anything else?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll be sure and get an estimate. Brian was in the classroom teaching math for the last 4 years.
That's fine.
Okay,
I'm sure that's why he did it.
okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board member comments.
We didn't do 5.
Who's going first? Mrs. Pearl. We're starting with you today,
Oh,
if that's okay.
well,
If you have
Sure.
anything.
I just have a question, and I'm probably catching people off guard, but I want to know if we have a food service handbook that the food service employees are aware of and need to follow, or
pay history, I don't know if that's it.
We do have an employee handbook, was distributed to the managers at the high school and the elementary school today. I'll be dropping it off at West Glades on my way out there after all the meetings today for the employees to sign off on that they have it and they will comply.
Is this something that was previously adopted by the board?
It is. It's nothing new.
Okay. Can we get copies of it as well?
Sure. I can go get them right now if you want.
That would be great.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
Okay, Patty? Anything? Crystal?
So I just wanted to, first of all, remind everybody the scholarship dinner is May 16th at 6 p.m. at the high school auditorium. We will be serving some light hors d'oeuvres, and then the program will be in the auditorium. So please, you're all invited to come. Also, we had an incident with a vaping pen recently, and I didn't know a lot about it, and I just wanted to share this with the board. I didn't realize what kids were doing with vaping pens, and since that incident, I've learned that they are putting like methamphetamine in vaping pens. It is not just tobacco products, and that's what I was thinking. And I was thinking, wow, are we being too strict? But when I heard what I heard, that in another district, a child did it in the restroom, and it was a very high drug that could have killed the child. So to me, we need to really take those seriously. And learning that, I felt that we should all be aware of that. That's all I have.
Ms. Gloria?
I don't have anything. I was like Crystal. I didn't know what a vaping pen was. Had no clue, so I went over to the school bus, and the school bus driver showed me what it was. And I'm like Crystal, I think we need to pay close attention, because these kids are, I wish they could take TikTok off the TikTok, but I guess that's out of my generation. But anyway, we just need to sit in prayer for our kids. I didn't have anything else. I'm not.
Okay. Superintendent's report?
Well, as you were talking about TikTok, we had our first reported Orbeez. I know it's another TikTok trend.
Saw that.
That there are these little they're like not plastic, but like water beads. But they shoot them out with these guns, and they're very powerful. And so this morning I got a phone call from the high school, and it didn't happen at the high school, but it happened on the road near the high school, and it shot kids that were on our property. And it is a TikTok trend. And so, I told Dr. Daly that I felt that, it needed to be a severe punishment. And so, one of the board members and I were in my office when the phone call came in, and she said, I told you, because about, 3 months ago, she said, have you heard of this? And I'm like, I've heard, but I didn't think, I'm like, how big of a deal could that be? I mean, a little, but since then, in college campuses and high school, all across the United States, there's, it's pretty serious, and, people can get their eyes shot out. And so anyway, I just want you to know that our high school administration is on it, and vaping is not just at high schools, it's middle and elementary as well. So I agree. It's scary what our kids are being exposed to. Couple of things I wanted to present to you, and I'm glad that Ms. Rhymes, A.D. Rhymes is here. A.D., if you could step up to the podium, please. I want to be I sent you an email yesterday. I've not talked to anyone, I've in groups obviously, but I want to be very kind of cautious of what I'm saying, because I feel like it's something that's still, it's an ongoing investigation, the Florida High School Athletic Association, but I want it to be on record and said to you publicly, because I feel there's some misconceptions of what happened. And I don't know if you want to tell kind of where this started, and then we can go from there?
So we have students from Westglades that come into Moorhaven to play softball, baseball, football, different sports. They have been doing that since about 2018. I asked the question to Florida High School Athletic Association member Justin Harrison of how I should mark those students. Should I mark them as traditional students, or should I mark them as non-traditional students? And if I mark them as non-traditional, what forms do I have to enter along with them? It really didn't become a thing until that occurred. And then kind of it led to one thing of, you need to call me immediately. Undoubtedly there is an issue with how those students have been coming in and playing. I have I'll send you the documentation that I have so far, and I have to have it turned into them by like 11 o'clock today, so that's actually what I've been working on. As soon as I get it turned in, I'll submit it to each one of you along with her, or with Ms. Barfield, so that you actually know the full issue, when the issue started, and what bylaws were violated, and what we can do going forward to prevent that from happening again.
Samantha, I want to ask a question about that. What's the difference in that in student's choice? I know it was for school, but I also thought that, I was under the impression that kids can come from Clueston and play on our football
They
team.
can, but they are traditional students. They enroll into our school. You get FT money for them. They're ours.
But they're going to school there.
They're
No.
going to a public school. They're a member. They're a member, we're a member.
Westlake isn't a public school?
They're a public school that's a member. They're a member of Florida High School Athletic Association. We're a public school that's a member. A public school that's a member can't go to a public school that's a member.
So
But a
the
charter school and a Christian
Clueston
school
kids,
can absolutely come here. From,
Clueston High School,
no, because they're a public member.
okay, so the,
But
but
Clueston,
Clueston Christian
they
School?
cannot because they're 125. There's a magic number. But New Harvest Academy in Clueston can.
Because they're not an
They're not a
FHSAA
120.
member.
It doesn't matter because they don't meet the 125 number, and they're private. There's a difference between public, private, charter, homeschool. Charter, private, and homeschool are all in EL 13. A public can't go to another public that are both members.
So that's how our
It's
people are coming in from the
It's
Indian
really-
That's
reservation.
crazy.
Yeah, it is what it
That-
is, but we're working
I
on
know
it.
you,
As soon as I get everything done, I'll send it to y'all.
My
and-
question
and
was
make you
about
aware.
the charter school. The
They're
Indian,
allowed. It's an EL,
Okay.
if they get an
'Cause-
EL 13, they're a charter school.
and if they're homeschooled.
Same thing.
Okay.
FLBS, they're EL 13s, but a public school does not
Okay.
fall under that category.
So would you please investigate why Westglades did join the Florida High School Association and find out if we could undo that and then continue to allow the kids to play here?
I know we played against each other.
Because I don't know sports, I don't know what the reason was. I'm sure there was a reason why they joined, but maybe it no longer exists,
Yeah, we will. I'll reach out
Okay.
to their athletic director and figure out, I asked him how long the membership had been active, and he is under the impression it was before 2010, so it's been a very long time since they've had it. Because I was thinking maybe it was something that newly occurred, and it would maybe be a reason of why we didn't understand it, but it was not a new membership. It is only a middle school membership. It's a little odd, so, but again, they're helping me figure it out. And as soon as I have a little bit more information about it, of what we have to do to actually make it in compliance, or to kind of figure out,
Yeah.
maybe Florida High School Athletics is misinterpreting how we're doing it, just, there could be a miscommunication of
right.
information.
Because I would like to be able to continue it if we can figure out a way to
Right,
legally
right.
continue it.
What is the advantage of Westglades being an FHSAA member school?
That was my question. Why are they?
And could we say,
Yeah.
okay, we don't want to be a member anymore?
Here.
Yep, thank God. Somebody do.
The reason to be an FHSAA member is so that you can support athletics and activities at that particular facility by having a team comprised of students that participate, who attend that particular school. If Westglades is not a member, then Westglades cannot field a team in any sport themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, we wouldn't want that. I mean, we
No,
want them to.
So, you're looking at two possibilities here. If Westglades remains a member of FHSAA and fields their own teams, then students at Westglades cannot participate at another public school for their teams. And you're in a situation where at Westglades, you only have middle school students, which is going to be problematic if the kids want to play something like football or softball or baseball, where there's not enough participation at the middle school level, because you're probably only looking at 100 kids total, I'm guessing on that. I'm not too far off. So are you going to be able to pull teams that not so much are competitive, but can at least play enough so that the students can develop and learn, rather than just get crushed 96-4 every time they go on the floor? Or would it be better for those students to be allowed to participate at Moorhaven Middle High School, and then Westglades does not field a team of their own? Those are the two situations you're looking at. And it's tough because the big sport, football, is not going to be supported at Westglades by itself. There's just not the student body there to have enough, if there's 100 middle school kids, that's 50 males. And of course, females can play as well. And I don't want to say that there's anything there, but traditionally, you don't have many females that choose to play football. So now you're looking at 50 kids, and you've got to get at least 25 of those out to play football if you're going to have a team. So you're looking at a numbers game that's very problematic.
What sports do we have at Westglades?
Volleyball, cross country, basketball, girls and boys, and soccer, co-ed,
Boys and girls soccer?
yes, it's a
No baseball.
No. So if we're not a member of FHSH, whatever
Well,
it
I'm not
is,
really sure that's necessarily the case, because when I talked to a person at Florida High School Athletics Association, they were a little confused of why we had 2 members in one small county. So there must be some stipulation that's placed in there that they're gonna have to look into further for us, because I don't actually know if that's the case. I'm not really sure. So I can ask that question. They were kind of a little confused of why that would have been done that way. But I think probably asking them for a concrete answer would probably be what's best.
Okay.
Of
you'll
why.
get that for us?
Sure, yes.
Okay, please.
What I'll do is I'll send you all of what I have now of what happened or what occurred, probably maybe by lunch. And then I will actually reach out and ask them why they would need that membership, why it might have been done, if it is done because they want to be able to field sports. Because I was under the impression from some other athletic directors that they weren't really sure, and they do field middle school teams, so there could be a little confusion there of maybe, I really honestly sometimes think people don't know the rules, they just don't ask, and they just kind of make them up as they go, so we can definitely find out.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
obviously,
Because
if
we
the case
don't
is they
want
can't
to-
have the
I
sport,
would think
then
it would
obviously
be-
you don't want them to do that, that's not fair to their students.
We don't want to lose their sports, but
Right,
we would
yes.
like to be
Figure out
able
why.
to.
Yeah,
work
or even
together,
is there
too.
a way that we could work together? Is there, being that we're such a small district and we only have one school, is there something that they could offer us as kind of an amendment to that rule?
Or a
That
way
needs to
to-
If
be-
our high school did it,
They
if
need
it
to,
could blanket.
but it definitely is a good discussion that should have been had with Florida High School Athletic Association and their board, not a decision that we should have just made on our own.
And the phone calls that I've received the parents were very angry. Now, I personally spoke to 3 of the 4 students that were affected. I called them the night of 9:30 something at night. And the parents were all very gracious, very understanding. They knew that this isn't something that we seeked out, that it happened because
It
we-
really was just a fluke.
It was a fluke.
I didn't know how to put them in as traditional or non, and that's and I asked, and they just were really confused at what I was doing.
We're just something.
And
You
I-
should have just put them in as traditional and
Yeah,
let it
I-
fly.
Yeah,
But the risk in that, Ms. Furlong, is you have, if you're found out,
A huge negative that.
you have to forfeit all your
Okay.
wins,
I'm
right?
joking.
I know
Yeah,
you
she
were,
just did
I know
that.
you were, but just, I mean, we don't, wanna break their rules
Oh,
knowingly,
yeah,
because then
for
we have to
sure.
forfeit our games, and we're just getting out of the football fiasco, you know what I mean? It's like,
I definitely just think we need to we'll come to an agreement with them of what we should do, how it should have been done, and we create
And do
a policy that 10 years from now or 20 years from now, when some of you aren't here and I'm not here, that they still know that this is how it needs to be done.
right,
Right,
right.
That's
let's
the
do
thing.
it right.
Nobody really knew, and they just kind of made the assumption, oh, well, this is how we're supposed to do it, and it's not necessarily, was not the case.
There has to be some policy somewhere written in black and white.
There
If they're gonna
has-
make us go by it, then show me where to look.
Yeah, well, they did provide that
Okay.
very clearly to me, in a very strongly worded email.
Well, okay, but
Yes.
were you able to read it yourself, is what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
But I think with the
Definitely
parents that
correct.
called were, you know, they were understanding, they spoke with Ms. Sabella as well. The community also was very upset because, you know, there's all these rumors that, you know, that kids are gonna be, you know,
Yeah,
not
nothing's gonna happen to
ineligible.
the kids, nothing,
Right.
it's not, they just wanna, we're just gonna fix it, like,
Yes.
nobody's gonna be punished, it's not anything like that, it's a very it's a simple fix, but we just have to fix it.
But are those kids gonna be pulled from those teams this year?
We're petitioning to ask that being that they were led to believe that it was acceptable, that they should not be punished by the, previous adults that were in charge that allowed that.
So we're gonna ask them to let us finish
That's
the
what I have to
season.
have done, I have to have a petition to allow for that to occur,
Okay.
and we'll definitely see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
I'll
very
send that
much.
to you guys.
Get on the right road.
And that's really all I have. I know the next couple of days, we're gonna be spending a lot of time together, and, I'm looking forward to the workshops and, moving forward.
After this afternoon, too, right?
Yes.
1 o'clock,
1 o'clock.
One or two?
One.
We have
One and two.
and two.
2 o'clock
Okay.
is the workshop.
Okay, anybody have anything else? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.